Hello, I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth Circle. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to talk about the Sun through Libra for 2018 cycle ahead. And I am also going to do a feature, as promised last month, about Venus retrograde. Venus will be retrograde in Scorpio and Libra, and I'm going to talk about that in part 2 called Interpretation, so you can skip to that. Here are the timelines. And in the resources section at the end, I have a very special announcement about a radio appearance. Yay! So, as usual, let's go through some charts first and some dates and get you all oriented. All right, so usually I do a couple of postcards, one showing you which planets are going backwards and forwards, and another one showing you the dates of things moving. This time we don't have to quite do so much. It can all fit on one because the only planet changing signs, other than the Sun, of course, is Mercury. So we have Mercury going into Scorpio, and heads up, that is where part of its next retrograde is going to be. We're going to get into that later. But we do have Mercury moving into another sign, and that is the only sign change. Now, we do, in terms of our retrogrades, of course, the big Venus one that I was telling you about, and we have Pluto finally going direct on September 30th. So those are it seems innocuous, it doesn't seem as busy, but wow, it's very powerful. So I'll explain that in a minute. First, let's get through those charts and let's show you where things are. Okay, so as you know, I always like to start off with the first chart when the Sun goes into the sign so you can get the lay of the land. And in this chart, we see the Sun and Mercury in Libra. I've done all the air signs in purple, the earth are in green, the water in blue, and your fire signs are in yellow, where you see the North Node in Leo. And you notice when we've got the Libra planets in air, they are going to be accompanied, so to speak, or at least in a general trine to Mars in the South Node in Aquarius. So that is one of the trends that's going to be happening, a cooperative thing with Mars. And then, of course, we just have the big outer three still holding their positions, although you can see in this chart, Uranus has moved back quite a bit. So it's getting ready, not in this cycle, but the next one, to go into Aries. So it's a very mellow Uranus. Chart number 2 is just a couple days later on the full moon. This is the 24th of September. And I was joking with a friend, an Aries friend, because when I saw this moon, I'm always like, oh my God, this is the one that's a full moon in Aries. It's going to be big. No, it's a little baby Aries. It's so cute. It's 2 degrees. I mean, the thought of a little baby Aries. It's just adorable. It's like some big ferocious animal, but when it was a kitten or a cub. So it's all that Aries, but just 2 degrees. Now, the thing to notice in this one is Saturn up there in Capricorn, the fellow cardinal sign that is also at 2 degrees. So Saturn will be an influence during this moon, and on the new moon I'm going to show you a little more intensity from Capricorn. And so what are we working on here? We're working on me versus community and group. So Aries is the individual. It is, me first and very impulsive. Libra, Venus ruled, very diplomatic, cares about decorum, and it's about the group. And so in this moon, we get to navigate that axis of where do my needs versus the group or the whole, how do we work on those? And I feel like with Saturn right in the middle playing referee, we'll get to check that. So your relationship stuff at that time, good time to examine it, because when we get to the when we get to the new moon, we're going to get another meetup with Capricorn, and that time it will just be a regular square, but this is a T-square, a little one with a 2 degree, but still Watch what comes up around this full moon in your relationships if you feel like you're putting in too much or people are saying that you are not. So work through that conflict at that moon. Next one, you don't have to worry too much about the chart for this one because I'm going to go into it in quite a lot of detail in the interpretation section, but this is the big day, the official beginning of the Venus retrograde. This will last until November 16th, but we will be dealing with this Libra Scorpio energy, particularly the Scorpio, through the end of the year, and I'll show you that in part 2. Now, next chart is the next new moon. This is a new Libra moon, and where we had a baby full moon, baby Aries full moon, we have a pretty nice, strong Libra, 15 degrees here. And what I wanted to point out is if you look up to Capricorn, you know that's a right angle. That's one of our squares. Pluto is just 3 degrees away. So when there's, when they're within 5 degrees of each other, we do kind of notice what's around that area. So if something came up at the full moon and you didn't work through it or get the message, this is like your other notice, and it's Pluto who is direct at this point. So, you'll just kind of get another dose of whatever that is. Important to address it, hopefully. And again, setting relationship intentions at this new moon. And the other thing you'll notice here is Mercury is at the latest degrees of Libra. It is getting ready to switch. That planetary change that I told you about, the one during this cycle, is Mercury going into Scorpio. So that happens the next day. And just for people who were paying attention, this is when we also officially move out of the Mars retrograde shadow. Yay! So Mars is moving forward and doing his business, and we're past that stage. The last chart here is for the day the sun goes into Scorpio, which is technically not part of the sun into Libra. I know that, but you guys know I like to show you where the planets end up. Again, I want you to look in that lower left-hand corner of this chart. Look at all the Scorpio. Of course, we have Jupiter hitting its strong degrees. It's at 26 there. So during the Libra cycle, Jupiter moves from 20 through 26 degrees. That is a lot of Jupiter in Scorpio, bringing up those Scorpio themes. And then, of course, Mercury there, Venus retrograde in Scorpio, bringing up so much, which is what we're going to get to in part 2. And so let's jump over to that. All right, so first let's get to all the facts and figures, so to speak, the charts, that kind of thing. And then I'll go over what I think it means, that intuitive, interpretive part of it that I do. So first, here are all the dates and all the sign changes for Venus. Again, remember that Venus's home is Libra. So that thing of relationships, balance, justice, fairness, all of those themes are going to be in effect, but we're really being led much more into the scorpionic energy. And what does Scorpio do? It transforms, it destroys. It is there to bring healing. It's got a shamanic aspect, but it gets to the nitty gritty, dark, dirty stuff in order to bring about the healing. And so we're going to have Venus going into Scorpio. It did on September 9th. And then again at the beginning of December, where it goes so it can finish out its Scorpio transit. So that's twice. And in other words, if you don't get it done during the first part of it, it goes back and then comes back through. So we are going to have Venus at play in Scorpio all the way till the beginning of the new year. So that is going to be, in my opinion, an overriding theme as we finish out and as we move into the autumn of 2018 and as we finish out the year. The other thing that I happen to notice is the other stuff that's in Scorpio. So that's really important to take a look at. So, of course, the sun will move through there as it does every year. We've got Mercury moving through Scorpio, and like Venus, it's going to go into it twice because part of its retrograde is going to be through Scorpio. And very interestingly enough, let's pull up the Mercury retrograde so you get this information early. We don't even hit the shadow during the Sun into Libra, so don't have to worry too much. But because it's part of what I consider this very scorpionic energy, that is going to be very much in presence for the rest of the year and involving retrogrades, I thought it would be important to show the dates and give you guys all the heads up. So on November 16th, the day actually that Venus goes direct, Mercury goes retrograde. So there's this little handoff. And if you'll notice through the postcards, the beginning of December is when they both get back into Scorpio. So we're going to have a Scorpio energy really from September 9th all the way until January 7th of next year. And I want to show you, I'm going to get to this little extra chart that I prepared for you guys, but I want to explain it first. So what does all this mean? Venus going in between these things. It's trying to bring balance in Libra, but in Scorpio, it's confronting the deep, dark, dirty, difficult stuff. I mean, Scorpio doesn't play around. If you think of Persephone going into Hades, it's Pluto ruled. This is, part of the story. If we're going to have healing, we have to confront the dark stuff. And the mantra, or just intuitive thing that I got, I heard the phrase, feel it, heal it. And what that means is anything that still has a negative charge, a past relationship, a person you think of, and it's not clean, there's nothing, it's not that person's responsibility to clean it up. It's yours. I know we don't like to hear that because we love our stories, and sometimes there's a lot of validity to it, however, we have a responsibility to heal it, to forgive, and to move on. And I feel like part of this energy in here, this feel it, wherever it just still doesn't feel good, there's still animosity, there's anger, there's hurt. This time, it's here to heal it, because we are also going to get Mars going into Pisces before the end of the year. And so my Aries friends are just dying. They're just like, no, not Mars and Pisces. Yuck. I know. But again, think of Mars. I think of it as like a needle, it just pricks you. And that going into Pisces, this holistic, integrative energy that's also about healing. And so these energies, and again, that's a nice trine, the Pisces energy with the Scorpio, it's all water, it's all trying to support us, but it's a big clean out. And the chart that I want to get to is this one for literally the day we're all done with Venus in Scorpio, is the day that Venus goes into Sagittarius. And yay, done with the dark, deep Scorpio stuff. I kid, but so this is at the beginning of the year. If you notice, this chart is for January 7th, 2019. So the guidance that I got was, if you really want to be in a great place at the beginning of the year, truly have cleaned the slate, ready to begin again, have your new year off to a great start, all this cleaning up, all this going through the muck, the deep, dark Scorpio stuff is going to be extremely helpful. And even the Mars through Pisces, it's a lot of that same stuff of emotional energy that we need to leave, we need to clear. And when you think of it on a collective, if each one of us is doing that, or a lot of us are doing it, the planet gets a lot lighter. So a lot of healing to be done. And where we end up, lots of good things happening, tons of changes in November, because there is so much changing happening under the Scorpio sun. But if you'll notice here, when Venus goes into Sag, it joins Jupiter again, but they are much happier. Part of this Scorpio thing is that Jupiter, between now and November 8th, when it changes signs, it's in its 12th house. Scorpio is the 12th house for Jupiter. So we're dealing with our daemons. We're dealing with karma. We're dealing with heavy lessons. until Jupiter goes into Sag, which is its home. The other one that you guys who, notice this stuff will see right over there in Aries, not only are we getting a fire trine, but Mars, yay! Mars is home in Aries. So we have Jupiter and Mars having a homecoming, first house, clean slate, new things, new beginnings, a whole new cycle. For Jupiter, it's 12 years, Mars, it's 2. And we have Venus there, but in a much more joyous, enthusiastic, and hopeful place. But I feel like we can't literally get to that without going through all the dark, scorpionic, healing, cleansing thing. So again, that simple mantra, feel it and heal it. Anything that doesn't feel good is telling you where some cleanup is in order. And the last thing I would point out about this chart, and I'll get into it when the sun goes into Capricorn, is look how much fuel we have to those Scorpio energies from everything in Capricorn. And you guys know my theory is because Pluto rules Scorpio and because these two form a sextile, these are complementing each other in these positions, the planets in Capricorn and the planets as they go through Scorpio. We have this underlying tone coming from Pluto trying to assist us, and we have quite the house full in Capricorn by that point. So it's very productive. A lot can be done, but I would just ask you guys to kind of look at the meaning of all the Scorpio that's going to go on until January 7th and, see what can be accomplished, what relationships you can heal, where you can make peace, very Libran quality to that, and so that you have more balance and more peace and more joy in your life, and that you're really ready to jump into the new year with all this happy Sagittarius energy and to enjoy the full homecoming year-long thing of Jupiter in Sagittarius. So that's that part. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that wasn't too long, but it's a very important cycle, and I hope that you get a lot out of that Venus retrograde, because there really are dark gifts, as they say, in there for you. And I think we'll all be a lot happier if we do a little more forgiving and a little more healing and all of that. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth from Elizabeth's Oracle. I give readings pretty much 6 days a week. You can find me at Elizabeth's Oracle. You can find links to anything I mentioned in the videos in the description box. You can sign up for a free newsletter, and there is free Minute Fridays, yay! When you buy any of my reading packages, when you order one on a Friday, you will get 5 free minutes, and you can have the reading any day of the week. You just have to get in touch with me on a Friday, because let's celebrate, it's Friday. The big announcement is that I am going to be surfing the psychic waves again, yay! For those of you who've known me a while, I'm going to be doing a show with Christina Walsh. And we are going to be on her new radio show and the relaunch of that. And of course, she's a Scorpio, so how perfect is this to get back in touch? And I will be going over astrology, pretty much whatever she wants to ask me about. And there is some call in on this show, so you guys can call with whatever questions you have. That will be on October 9th. And so you can find the links for everything in the description box. I hope you guys will join us for that. And again, otherwise, just buzz over to elizabethoracle.com to get in touch with me. And not to confuse you, my other Christy Ayala, is still at ChristyMAyala.com. She does the angel readings if you feel guided to work with the angels, or Christy's gentle Pisces energy, and she does a lot of modalities and healings. Go ahead and get in touch with her as well. We're just not doing radio these days, but we're in touch all the time. So if you feel guided to work in that way, do it. If you feel like coming to my state, do it. Whatever you do with that Scorpio energy. And I meant to say this during the regular part, but I would just say whether that healing is through a professional setting, like a counseling session, or you just send light to that situation every day, or you just ask with all of your heart for the ability to heal it and let it go and forgive. Even if you don't think you can, just ask your angels and ask your guides to help you release, because it doesn't really hold the other person back. We know it holds us back, right? It's just the way that it works, unfortunately, when we haven't let stuff go. So I just wish you guys So much healing between now and the end of the year, but I will be back when the sun goes into Scorpio, and that's going to be an action-packed edition because so much stuff shifts during Scorpio. So I really hope to see you then, and I thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a very beautiful Sun through Libra experience.